All right, I said I was in a meditative mood tonight, and I'm about to subject y'all to another one of the things that I'm chewing over. Um, and how do I say this? Well, when I'm talking about this, I'm not pointing a finger at anyone out there more than I am myself, uh, because I am I have fully been caught up in this. Um, and mea culpa to the extent that I've been caught up in it. Now, uh, what I'm talking about is the hostility between the sexes that has become sort of de rigueur. These, if that's the correct pronunciation, I never know. I'm not as smart as you may think I am. But it's become just an everyday thing, especially for younger people. And I guess that's what's more concerning as an older man, um, is the extent to which it's really taken most of its toll on younger people. The escalating divide between the sexes. Uh, Now, I've like I said, I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of indulging it myself, and I've written things, I've recorded videos, and I don't, I'm not recanting anything. I'm not taking back any of the observations that I've made about uh w- about what bitches be like these days. Um, you know, I wrote a whole series of articles on my Substack page about this, about what I called the borderlineization, the BPDization, how how every woman you meet seems to be uh, a borderline case. A BPD, what do they call them? Cluster B case, these days. And I don't recant anything that I said, as far as observationally speaking. But what I do regret, what I feel we have to, we're coming up on the brink of something, and it's something we have to pull back from. And again, I'm saying this most of all. I'm talking most of all to myself here, even though it doesn't really matter as much with me, you know, because civilization doesn't depend on whether or not I ever make my peace with women, but it does depend on whether or not young men and young women make peace with one another. And that's an important thing that somehow that needs to happen. There needs to be a road back to that, um, because the it's not, it's we're not in a good place. And I'm what should I say, like, I'm more temperamentally uh you know angry at women than I think I've ever been. Well, definitely more than I've ever been in my life. uh and I'm admitting it here. I'm saying that it doesn't help, of course, that anytime you express criticism of women, you get called names, uh, and that of course, when you try to point out something and people respond by calling you names and ostracizing you, that's that that doesn't help. Just a tip out there to anyone who wants to change hearts and minds. Um, uh, Ostracizing people, calling them names, uh, telling them you hope they die, uh, the, telling them whatever, just hurling hateful invective at them. That's not going to make them uh, change in the way that you want them to change. And you may say you don't care. You may say you don't even, it doesn't even matter to you. You just want them to die out. Well, again, you're only making things worse when you do that. And, it may feel satisfying at the moment, and all I've got to say is it's satisfying when we do it too. Even though our side doesn't have the quote unquote high ground, supposedly, it's just as satisfying to to isolate you and call you names when you behave in a way that we don't like. But what I am trying to say here is that for one side or the other, and paradigmatically, what I'm talking about are men and women here. Uh, Although I'm also talking about all the ways in which we're divided. Um, but this is the thing that I think is the most critical and crucial. Uh, is that we find a road back. We find an off road uh, back from the catastrophe that we're heading towards right now. Uh, and I don't even know if I want to. I might not even if I do post this video, it will be against my better judgment because right now I'm thinking this is just a little too. I'm cutting it a little too close here. I like to be a little bit vulnerable, but this is a little. Um, this will easily get misconstrued. You try to. That's what happens. That's why people. That's why you don't. You don't find people trying to reach out and say things like this very often. Because it does so often get misconstrued. Your own side says you're selling out. You're you must have gotten the call. You must have you become you've just become you've gotten cucked. You've gotten you're a shadow of your former self, man. What's happened to you? Um, and the other side just responds with ridicule. So that's why nobody wants to reach out. Nobody wants to try to reach out across the divide. Because when you say things like this, that's what happens. Your own side turns on you, and the other side uh, ridicules you. Um, But this is just something that I think it desperately needs to be addressed because it's an escalating problem, and it's I'm not even uh, in spite I've written what I've written and I've said what I've said, and I'm not taking back anything that I've said or written about these matters. That's not the point here. The point is, even with everything that I've written, even with the most, like, and I thought when when I wrote that series of articles about uh, not just modern day feminism, but modern day women, and how uh, just the behavior of women today from my perspective. Um, you know, I thought it was going to be much more hated on than it was. I thought that there would be much more. Um, I thought that people would object, but then again, I guess I'm preaching to the choir more or less, and that can be a problem. You preach to the choir, and they say amen to what you've said, but they're saying amen maybe to what they think you're saying or what they want you to be saying rather than what you're actually saying. You might be saying, this is how women are behaving these days. And that's all, that's it. You haven't gone beyond that. You haven't said, therefore, uh, MGTOW, therefore, you know, white Sharia or whatever. I guess white Sharia, that's like a passe. Gosh, I'm old. That's like a 2017 thing. But you people come to all kinds of conclusions about what they think you're saying beyond what you're actually saying. And I have never said, therefore, um, marriage sucks. Therefore, men shouldn't get married. Therefore, you're a fool if you get married. I haven't gone I haven't gone as far as some you know MGTOWs or MRAs or whatever they are, whatever you want to call they want to call themselves. I haven't even gone that far. Uh, I've just said, here's from where I'm standing. Here's what's going on with women, and it's not good, you know. And you know, on my own time, of course, I've had, and just like I admitted earlier in this video, I've had my angry and bitter moments. Uh, you know, and I don't deny any of that. But it's kind of like, I know I'm a little all over the place here, but I'll probably never uh, post this, so it doesn't matter. But I sometimes have people uh, write me uh, and say things like, "I'm just like you. I'm a loser too. I'm a total loser, just like you. We're the same person, Andy. We're the same." And they, it's like, um, wait, did I say I was a total loser? It's like, don't don't claim this kind of solidarity with me and then insult me. maybe you say, well, I'm insulting myself too. We're the same. You just, but there are all kind of backhanded ways um, that people can insult you. As someone who's even semi in the public eye, um, I know that much. And people can also say really nice things uh, as well, and then they have. So I don't want to come across as saying that something I'm not. Um, so we've got to find an off ramp, uh, just for the sake of not just civilization, but for the sake of all that is good, pure, and holy, and decent. Because a good, ordered society is not one in which men and women are alienated from each other. It's just not. Um, I've never been somebody who said I've never prescribed. I've never told people how to live. Um, I've never said you've got to do this or you've got to do that. I've always really disliked it when people on the right, my own comrades, I guess, on the right, say things like, you need to get married and have tons of white babies, and that's just what you need to do because, well, wait a minute, like, not everybody is called to marriage and procreation, and it's okay if you're not, and I don't even say, like, I gosh, is anybody really hanging with me here? Because I'm really going all over the place, but there is I am staying focused, believe it or not, even as I bob and weave around the central thread of what I'm saying. Um, like I've never even like I'm not into feminism at all, as you know. But I've never been a like, okay, you've got to women have got to just marry young uh, and have children when you're 18, 19, 20, and that there needs to be no more women in the workplace, and uh, I've never said that, and I don't believe that. There's no one size fits all. To And there's nothing wrong with women in the workforce per se. It's just there should be. What's wrong? I mean, part of what's wrong is how things got to be. As I've said many times before, how things got to be that a man could not support a family anymore uh, on his own wage. This is uh, like part of this whole psyop of getting women in the workforce was, and telling them to compete with men, um, is instead of being their wives, being their allies, their partners, uh, their domestic counterparts. Part of the whole uh, wretched psyop was telling women, you're not really fulfilled as mothers. Who are you if you're just a wife and mother? That's nothing. You to go into the workforce and become someone like men. You do the male thing and work, and that's how uh, by becoming more like a man. That's how you really uh, self actualize, and live out your dreams, and all the terrible things that women are told, that young women are told today, all the terrible propaganda. Just sleep around in your 20s and then marry someone when you're tired of uh, you know riding on the carousel, uh, you know, and when you're almost past childbearing age, all of that awful, wretched, terrible stuff that I do loathe and I do despise. For me, it's not so much. It's not about going back. It's not about saying we need to forbid women from working. If you're a woman and you find fulfillment through work, I think that's fine. What I think there needs to be is a restoration of the idea that it's okay to not to work if you're a woman. It's okay if you want to be a wife and a mother. That's fine. That's good, in fact, and that should not be shamed. That should be uh, you should be supported for that because it's your as long as it's your choice, and that's what feminism was supposedly always about. Of course, I always roll my eyes when it's presented that way because we know what feminism is. Um, a movement is how it manifests. It's not how it's you know it, it's not how it's not dependent on how a person who subscribes to it chooses to define it. Uh, in a usually in a rather self-aggrandizing manner. You can say it's just about uh, treating men and women as equals. It's just about say just it's the radical notion that women are people and what have you. But realistically speaking, that's not how it manifests. Realistically speaking, how it manifests is as a uh, is saying it's a force that says to women, "This is how you should live your lives." And if this is if this is what you're doing, as long as you're not just being a traditional wife and mother, you're a-okay. And we're always going to make excuses for we'll always make excuses for your behavior, and we'll always blame men uh, for everything. I mean, that's just how it has manifested in the world. And you can say that's you could say, well, that's not how it's supposed to be. That's a misunderstanding of that's a betrayal of what it's meant to be, and whatever. Like that's fine if you want to claim that, but it doesn't matter because what matters is how it's manifesting in the world, and how it's manifesting in the world is as an anti-traditional woman, uh, um, anti anti morality, uh, pro degeneracy, uh, uh, pro adultery, pro fornication, pro abortion, and always, always, always anti male, anti man um, phenomenon. That's just what it is. That's how it manifests in the world. And that's why people feel the way they do about it. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, That's something you need to understand. If this is if it's something you're trying to defend, then this is why. Yeah, and you're and you want to and you don't think it's fair that it's being characterized in this way. I'm telling you why it's being characterized in this way, because that's how it manifests in people's lives. Whether that's fair or not, that's the way it is, and there you go. So how do we get how do we get back to where we need to be? I don't know. Um, Angry women, making women angry and dissatisfied with men is not a good thing. Making men angry and dissatisfied with women is not a good thing. You know, uh, and I've never wanted to increase. I've never wanted to increase disharmony between the sexes. I've always just had just felt the need to give voice to what I've seen, heard, and experienced. Um, but my my caveat and my and I'm admitting that it's affected me in ways that it shouldn't. It's I've allowed it to make me bitter, and things can be true. Something can be true, and at the same time, uh, you can you can draw a conclusion that is not uh, that goes beyond what you're the things that you're explicitly saying. So a person can say, as I have said, uh, that women today are encouraged to behave in ways that men find increasingly obnoxious. Um, and maybe that's true. And I suppose it could be said the other way around, you know, if you're willing to make the case that men are being encouraged to behave in a way that's obnoxious to women. I don't know who's doing the if you want to say that Andrew Tate and other, you know, other men like that, who are hated and reviled by mainstream culture, if you want to say that they're an equal force to what feminism is, then I think that's nonsense. But if you want to make the case that young men are listening to Andrew Tate uh, and to red pill podcasts, uh, and the result is not good, you know, if you want to make that case, or if that's what you've experienced as a woman, then I think that's valid, as long as you're honest about it, as long as you're not trying to say that the the red pill podcast, the people that that you're that you the Andrew Tate and company that you're assailing, as long as you're not trying to say that somebody who is hated and reviled by mainstream culture is equivalent to mainstream culture, um, then I think there are certainly things to criticize. It's not that men are wonderful or anything, uh, or beyond being criticized. It's just it needs to be fair, and uh, it needs to be uh, in a context where the automatic the reflex response is not to just hate on men. Uh, but regardless, there needs to be a way back, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if there's any way to know except, or if there's any way to get there except through prayer, uh, and acknowledgement of the problem, and you know, um, trying to be aware that, uh, or try, or being not getting lost in anger or bitterness, regardless of whatever you may have experienced, and doing your best to steer clear of that which would lead you to feel angry or bitter or hostile, uh, instead of just going for the gut, like going for the throat, going with the gut, uh, the guttural kind of response, uh, which is to lash out. Yeah, I think I'll stop there.